And now it's time for Why Did I Say That? With comedian Gibran Saleem. The podcast that dives into the messed up things people say and explores the reasons why. It begins now. Here's Gibran.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in to Why Did I Say That with Gibran Saleem and special guest Liz Miele. She's got a new album, a new hour coming out that she's filming next month. She's got a lot going on. Follow her on social media. We have an incredible episode. We get into heckling, psychology, therapy, feelings, relationship, emotional regulation, stuff beyond my capacity. It's amazing. Keep tuning in for the rest of the episode. Thank you. Bye.
It is a survival technique where you're like around a bunch of people, or like think about all the crazy shit people say to us that you're like, oh, you're a monster. But I have to always remember that I'm a tiny woman, like, because my essence is like, I'll murder all of you. Like, I am the destroyer. Like I have this like essence of like I could, but like I have to remember that I am so easily harmed and that I'm by myself and that I mean, it would take, I think a child could hurt me. So that's where like I think.
But you feel more.
I feel rageful. I feel rage in my heart.
Okay, that's what it is.
And I want to do something about it. But like, I remember something ended up happening with my sister, but like I remember walking down the street, some guy like hitting on me or making me uncomfortable and just being like middle finger, whatever, and then him following me and me being like, oh, you can't behave that way. Like there's real consequences to hurting a man's feelings, so that you just learn to like ignore it. Like, so there's all this like survival in like how angry I get and the fact that I'm not allowed to be angry, and I'm not because I don't have. And we also like think about how now knowing like you're in different states, you don't know if they have a gun, nobody's in therapy.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think as a kid, I learned I wasn't allowed to behave that way. But as an adult, I'm constantly reminded that I have to keep my anger in check.
But what about like in the relationships? Like, how do you get out that anger?
I mean, now I've learned to like communicate and be like, I remember this, my ex lived in a studio and I would take a shower. You know what I mean? And then I would just be in the shower too long and he'd be like, hey, and I'm like, I'm super angry. So just let me wash off half of it. So I get down to like a normal level of anger. Because sometimes when you hit that rage thing, you have to go, is this really 100% about this topic or this person?
100%.
And so sometimes taking that break and shutting down gives you time to go, is this something that's accumulated because he's done it several times, or is this something that is like, it's a trigger for me and he's unknowingly touching that trigger, or is it I've said 7 times don't do that and you're doing it and now I can't say it nice anymore. So I think finding a way to kind of take that. I mean, we broke up, so clearly my skills are somewhere defined. You know,
I mean, it may have been for the better. Maybe your skills are so refined, it led you to finding a solution, which is being alone forever.
Yeah, thank you. I would like to think that. But yeah, I think there's a part of me that sees where it's positive, but also sees where it's negative, which is I can shut down, and when you shut down, there's no like you let a little bit in. You're just completely shut down, and you have to like be able to kind of get out of it too. But I can identify that I'm shut down. So that's something that I can do, where it's just like, oh, I'm not able to be warm. I'm not able to be empathetic. I'm not able to see your side of things. Like I am numbed out to everything.
But then are you also almost disassociating with your own feelings?
Oh, 100%.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But that's a skill. I mean, I lived in that disassociation for years, and now I can tell when I'm in it, and I can also be like, I can tell when it's helping me in the sense that like I need to calm down. I can't actually feel my emotions. I'm just crazy inside. And I can also tell when I'm like, oh, this is too painful for me to process right now.
Wow.
But that's just, you know, and what's nice is I've had friends for 15, 20 years that I can honestly be like, hey, I'm not okay and I need a couple of days. But like with a partner, that's kind of hard.
But that's so emotionally mature to just say that you're angry.
I know, it took a while.
Angry?
Oh, yeah.
I don't think I can say I'm angry. I don't know what I do, but it's not that.
Yeah.
No, I shut down. It depends on the relationship. If I'm close enough with someone, I can communicate with them. I may take a beat, but my friend was telling me there's some saying her therapist says, like, before you, I have no idea. It's way more catchy. Maybe it rhymes.
Yeah.
Before you do subdue. That sounds like a thing.
I think it's good.
Yeah. Something like that.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, that's great. Because she was kind of lashing out at someone via email because she interpreted the email as like all caps.
Aggressive.
So,
Yeah.
so you're being aggressive with me now?
Yeah.
So I can be aggressive back. But then she was telling me maybe she shouldn't have done that. She should have took a beat.
Yeah.
But then she was telling me, and it sometimes as a guy, it's weird to like want to show empathy.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, do I even know what it's like to be in your shoes?
Yeah.
Because she was saying she has to remember that when she's being direct with someone, to men, it's aggressive. But when they're being direct, they're being assertive.
Yeah.
And that's something she has to remember.
Yeah.
And I was just like, no, I get it. But
I mean, telling somebody exactly how I feel is, especially men, and that's almost exclusively who I work with, it's so funny how it can be misinterpreted, where I'm just saying, you hurt my feelings and it makes me not want to be around you. And they're just like, why are you being so emotional? You're like, I'm actually not. Yeah. I'm just saying that this isn't positive and I don't need to be here. So why would I?
Yeah.
But I think... So I have I call it like piss colored glasses. Like I read every text and email like someone hates me or I'm being attacked or whatever.
Yeah.
So I always have to take that beat. And if I take that beat and I'm still angry or I'm still upset, I go for a second opinion. I
do that all the time.
So when I lived with Carmen Lynch for years, and what would happen is I'd read an email, I go vent to her and she'd be like, can I see the email? And I go, sure.
Yeah.
And she'd read it. And it was like a really eye-opening experience. She'd read it and she'd be like, I don't think this was what they're saying. And I was like, I can't even see what you're seeing. And then I would take a couple of days, I would look at it and I go, oh,
yeah,
I don't even think they're being mean now.
Yeah.
And so, but especially when there's no tone, especially when you don't know that person, because I've received text messages from my friend Amanda, who I've known almost 20 years, and been angry and then been like, oh, that's just Amanda. And I can do the work because I know this woman more than I know anybody else.
Yeah.
But, think about talking to a booker or a comic,
That happened to me the other week. And I was like, why is he so angry? Did I piss him off?
Yeah.
And then I showed to someone and they're like, no, he's just telling you how he feels, not about you, but about what's going on in a way without being specific.
Yeah. And I even see it in myself. I write really curt emails and I've taught myself, I'll write an email. If I get back to you, it'd be sure, that's fine. But then if I don't know the person, I have to go, hey, thank you so much for telling me. I think that'll work. And then I have to so my first gut is just I hate emails. I hate text messages. All the information. It's very mechanical. I got back to you and that should be good enough. And I'm saying yes. But sometimes when you don't have any pleasantries or you're, even an emoji, I almost lean on emojis because I can be so curt. So it's just yeah, sure, smiley face. And then I'm just being quick as opposed to. So I taught my dad. Everybody in my family's mad at me, but I taught my dad to use emojis because he comes off a little
when
aggressive.
Parents use emojis, it's so fun.
And now he overuses them.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, "What did you do to him?" Even my aunt was like, "What did you do to your father?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "He likes emojis."
What he does now? What kind of emojis is he using?
He overuses the kissy face. He overuses the thumbs up.
Okay. Does he get silly with it and throw in a surfer guy or a mermaid?
Sometimes, if we had a conversation. My mom is really funny with it. My mom loves the poop emoji. She loves the gun emoji, and it's really upsetting they turned it into a water pistol because
I noticed that.
I
was looking through
up.
emojis and I was like, was that a water pistol?
It's so stupid, especially because my mom, literally, I'd be like, "How was work?" and it would be like a face and then a gun next to it.
But there's no water knife emoji. It's still a machete.
Yeah, no. And
there's a bomb.
Yeah,
it's not a.
It's so
water
dumb.
balloon.
And I know we have a gun problem here, but don't take away our gun emoji.
I would like stabbing problems.
I would like to think that there's gangsters that are just using the gun emoji properly. Hey, when I see you, I'm gonna gun your face.
I hope it's water. Yeah, for sure.
And now it's squirt gun your face. And do you think that really stopped violence, turning it into a squirt gun?
Maybe. I don't think it did, but what if it did? What if that's all it took
statistics
to stop a murder was the changing an emoji?
But
I doubt it.
Did it stop racism now that they have like a range of skin colors that you can have? So it's just like, don't get me wrong, I appreciate it. Although so my friend is blonde and her baby probably is like a redhead, and she had a baby, and then my other friend's gonna have a baby, and so I was trying to like do two baby emojis but with different hair colors, and the black hair kid is very pale, and the blonde kid had like more like skin color, and I was like, can we talk about how this is not like your baby's gonna be the palest thing ever as a redhead? And I was just like, I don't know, I get that it was some Asian country that was just like, we're doing the best we can.
So instead of those emojis, you just sent her a water pistol.
I did. I was just like, fuck your babies. I never want to see them again.
I wonder if as human beings, we're developing a stronger part of our brain to handle emotional regulation because of dealing with subtext and context and texting and like really trying to understand sarcasm. I feel like cavemen, cavewomen, they didn't have to worry about misinterpreting an email.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I get that. I get
like 20,000 years down the line is like one tiny part of her brain going to be like popping out of her head because it's so like strong.
I also wonder if they had the full range of emotions we have, which is like, I'm upset, confused. You know what I mean? Which is very different.
Probably not.
So it's just like between vocabulary and the fact that I feel like I have a multitude of emotions at the same time. I do, because our life is so much email and text. I'm dyslexic, and even I prefer texting somebody over talking to somebody on the phone. But I also know that I can easily get triggered because of a text or because of an email. So I think, I don't know, I already overanalyze, so I don't know if it's taken like the regular people and made them more broken the way maybe somebody like us is.
I overthink, I overanalyze.
So I don't know if it's just breaking everybody to be the same level of broken.
Yeah, I'll use emojis, but sometimes I don't want to, but I'm like, I have to.
Yeah. I do it as a way to soften myself.
Yeah, I do that too, but it's also like, all right, well, I'm using an emoji, so I'm almost like teaching you, depending on the person, like, use emojis with me so I know your tone, because I can't read your tone on text.
Oh, yeah. There was a comic that he used whenever we would talk, he would use, like, he'd be driving and he would use speech to text, and so it came off really curt.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember being like, hey, can you just put like a smiley face? Because I actually, especially if you're canceling plans, it like really hurts my feelings.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, I'm doing speech to text. And I was like, oh, now that I know he's doing speech to text, because he's driving back and forth, now it's fine. Like you don't. But before I was like, speech to text, I was like, oh, you seem mad all the time.
Yeah. I wonder if you could do speech to text emojis.
I think you can. I think you can go smiley face. So I think he now does smiley, knowing that I'm a sensitive lady.
I mean, but the fact that you can communicate these things, I don't think I'm that communicative. That's awesome.
Yeah, no, it does work.
10 years, that's great.
Yeah, and I don't go as much as I did before. Although I'll say this, my grandfather died like 2 weeks ago.
Oh, that's right. Oh my God. Yeah. Are you doing okay? I'm sorry about all of that. I remember you texted me. Yeah.
It's been my cat died, and then a week later my grandfather died, and a week later my uncle died. So it's just been like I have a funeral tomorrow.
What?
Yeah,
This was all this last month?
Yeah.
Oh my God. I thought your cat died like a long time ago.
So my cat died
Spaghetti
in September.
or something? Do you have a cat named
Don't be
Spaghetti?
disrespectful.
Sorry.
Her name was Pasta.
Okay. Oh, that was close though. I didn't even need pasta.
Ravioli, and I'm like, no, she's all the pasta.
Lasagna? It was lasagna, right?
She was a legend, and you should know her name. So yeah, Pasta died right when I moved. Like right when I moved to this area, she died.
Oh, shit. I thought when I talked to you, like I bumped into you on the street, that was like a year ago that happened.
No, so I got a new cat.
Okay.
And I named him Tater Tots.
Oh, that's fun. I remember.
And then he turned out a month later to have like this terminal virus, and he died very quick. So I had him a month, and he died, and I am not handling it great. I just got his ashes. So I'm gonna get another cat because I can't live without a cat. But it was a lot. Somebody helped me where they're like, you lost your cat in the honeymoon phase, and I was like, just so you know, all cats are like unless they're pissing on your bed, it's always the honeymoon. Like I lost my cat at 16 years, and I I shit on her all the time because that's what I do, but I was devastating. So I think, I love these kids shouting.
New York. I don't know if the audio will definitely pick it up, but it's fine. Sometimes there's really fun arguments that you get to just eavesdrop on.
I do like. I mean, that's what I kind of like. I can hear my neighbors outside sometimes, and I'm just like, what does their fun sound like? Like, what is like? I do like picking up on other people's conversations. Although my neighbor upstairs got an exercise bike, or no, they got an elliptical.
I was thinking about getting something like that.
But I guess they thought because it didn't shake the floor, it wouldn't do anything. It was the loudest screeching I've ever heard. It was above my bed. It was so loud, and it was for an hour. And I'm like, good for you for getting into shape. But like, now my New Year's resolution is for you to give up on your dreams.
Yeah,
like,
I'd rather you be chubby.
Yeah. Truly, I have to be like, you
just
look
die
perfect.
of a heart attack.
Like, don't try losing any more weight. Like, you look perfect.
Oh, that's good. Empower them to be inactive.
Yeah. Hey, you should stop because whatever
you're
doing
getting too thin.
Yeah.
There's abs on your face.
Yeah. Your ab face. I can't handle it.
Wait, so with Tater Tot, do you respond the same way to that kind of stuff versus when you're angry, as in like shutting down?
I'm a workaholic, so I'll just work through it. But I'm a crier. This is the thing is like I'm a crier. So I just cried for a full week. And then like there are people that
I wouldn't take you as a crier.
Oh,
you have a very tough exterior.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
I cry.
Wow.
Yeah. It used to be worse. And when I was on birth control, it was bad. So it took like already the fact that I'm a crier and then you throw hormones on it. And I was crazy for like 13 years. So I can control it slightly better. But like I bombed at Fat Black last week. And when I say bomb, I mean everyone in front of me murdered. And then I bombed. And I was already dealing with all the sadness that I was dealing with. And I just was so mad. And I just felt like shit. And I just like, it would be one thing if it was a shitty show. I don't care if it's a shitty show. But I was like in a bad place. I started out with like at a 4 and I ended at like a 1. Like they barely liked me when I started. And then I ended on silence. It was bad. It was really bad. And you know, if the Fat Black bar where the bartenders can see you, all the comics can hear you.
The stakes are higher, and it's not an easy room anyways. A shitty room. Yeah.
So I bombed. I was already in a bad place. And as soon as my butt hit the train, I just started crying. Yeah. And that's the funny thing is I'm wearing a mask. I'm crying. I'm just like, whatever. Everything sucks and you're allowed to be sad. And then this woman comes over to me and I was like, I do not want somebody to try to be like, what are you going to do? He'll come back like thinking I'm going through like some breakup or whatever. And she goes, I just want to let you know the woman behind you looks like your long lost sister. Like she looks exactly like you. So I'm like sitting like this and this person's clearly right there. And she has an accent. And I look at her and I go, you're weirding me out. Please leave. And she like, you could tell that she was just like, oh, is this what they mean when they say New Yorkers are fucked up? But I just want to be like, I'm crying. Like I could give a fuck that the woman behind me is ethnically ambiguous and has curly hair. Like I could give a fuck. Like what about that? What did you think was going to happen? That I would be like, oh, thank you so much. I'm going to spark a conversation with another person that paid $2.75 and doesn't want to talk to anybody.
She interrupted your crying to tell you
me
that.
About bullshit. And I was mad and I just had to be like, you're making me uncomfortable and I would like you to leave. And I said it so flatly. And you could see that it like you could see that she was like, oh, that wasn't the reaction. I was like, no, I'm going to teach you a lesson. I'm not going to be a bitch to you. I'm going to be so cold that you're going to regret talking to me.
Do you think she was trying to cheer you up? Or she didn't even process that you were... I don't
think she processed it. I think she just thought it was like cool. But what I wanted to say is I have everyone's face. Like it almost doesn't, I would say with the exception of being Asian, I have everyone's face. Every Middle Eastern person says I look like someone's cousin. Yeah. Every white person says I look like their best friend. Yeah. I have an every person face. Yeah. I don't care.
You look like my sister, by the way.
I could see that. I could see that. I literally.
I've been meaning to say it the whole time. My long-lost sister specifically.
But I do. I look like everybody's cousin or everybody's best friend. I just have this very like, I kind of look like everybody face. And it's fine, but like you can't tell the stranger like I could care less about what you're saying to me and what you're saying to me is uninteresting. Like I discovered it 10 years ago. Yeah. And said I taught some foreigner a lesson about talking to strangers.
She probably learned.
Yeah, no.
Probably not. Yeah. I doubt it, actually.
I didn't stab her. I
made her stabbed her emotionally.
Yeah, I made her less excited to be in the city. I think I did my part.
You did your part. We got to trim out the fat in New York. If they're not tough enough to handle.
But isn't it funny? Like in the middle of crying, I'm like, I'm gonna make someone else cry.
Yeah, what an emotional shift. Yeah. You probably needed to transfer the sadness to someone else.
Yeah, and then I went home and I called my sister and I was like, "Can I just cry for 5 minutes?" She's like, "I got you."
That's awesome.
Yeah.
But
that's the best part about being a girl, by the way. Like I called up my manager. I was like super sad plus really overwhelmed with work, and she needed me to do something, and I literally was like breaking at the seams. And I call her up and I'm like hysterically crying. So she picks up and I go, "I'm crying and I would like you to ignore that fact because I can't stop it, but I need to like talk to you." And
okay.
And I was like, I would say about 30% of this cry is justified, but we're at a 10. And I don't know how to stop it.
Wow.
And I think it was hormonal, but like I talked to her and I was like, "I'm sorry I call you crying." And she's like, "It's totally fine." But I was like that. And then I found out like a week later, like she's getting divorced. And I was like, we are a mess right now. Like,
yeah.
I'm a crier in the sense that whatever my emotion is, it turns into tears. So if I'm angry, I'll start crying. If I'm confused, I'll start crying. If I'm sad, I'll start crying.
Interesting.
So half of how me shutting down is because I don't like crying, and it's not seen as strong, or nobody sees somebody crying and being like, "I want to hang out with that person." Like,
no.
But I've also learned that it's how I process things. So if I'm alone, why am I stopping myself?
Also feel somehow vicariously like it has to be a weight lifted. I don't cry a lot, but I don't think it's good. I mean, a lot of guys in general. Like, I'll talk to my friend who's like going through breakup. I can tell when he's right about to cry, and he just says, "I have to go," and then we'll never talk about him about to cry. Almost every conversation that we have, because he's going through a breakup. He should be crying,
he's sad, and he doesn't.
But he'll just hang up, and I'm like, all right, I get it.
I never feel good, like especially crying in front of if I start crying in front of you, I would feel so embarrassed. But if I cry in front of my sister, like she's cried in front of me a million times, like I'm not embarrassed for her to see me cry, and she's not embarrassed. So it's just like I think that's once it happens, it feels kind of like a relief.
Yeah.
But it's not fun for anybody involved, so you don't want to do it.
What is the best way to interact with you while you're crying? Is it to console you, leave you alone?
Probably make me laugh, because that's what I do.
That's good.
Like the amount of times, like half my set because I went through a breakup like a year ago, and I have all these breakup jokes, and half of them is me calling my best friend, crying, like screaming, being like "fuck him" and da 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 and like whatever, and then saying something crazy, and she goes, "Hey, I know you're really sad, but you should write down what you just said because it was really funny." And I'm like, "Thank you so much."
Of course, yeah.
Or like I said something crazy. I was just like ranting and crying. And then 2 days later, she's like, "I just want to let you know you said something so funny. I told 3 people if they thought it was funny, and I think you should just make it into a joke." And I was like, "Oh, I was just angry crying." And she was like,
"Yeah."
And it's one of my best jokes. And it's all because 3 days later, she was like, "Hey, I think you should write down what you," like I've told people.
Yeah.
Like it was a bit already.
It's so interesting that crying doesn't necessarily need to be about sadness. As a guy, it's confusing.
Yeah.
You can angry cry, happy crying?
Yeah.
That's wild to me. I understand it, but I'm like, I wish I could cry more.
Yeah. It is. I think it is helpful. I think it's also why women don't stab as many people. Like, I really do think because we're allowed to feel our emotions.
That's so
and we're allowed to have emotions, that it really is the reason that we don't shoot up places.
Yeah. So do you think if women were taught not to cry, there'd be an uptick in like, not school shit? I don't know what has to be at a school, but just mass.
I think we would kill a lot of boyfriends.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm waiting for that progress to happen for us.
On behalf of all boyfriends, we're very glad that you guys
We're really glad that we cry. Yeah, but every time
just
they're just like,
out.
"Oh, you cry so much. Women are the worst." And you'll be like, "I haven't stabbed anybody in years." So
that's a great point. Tears are way better than murder.
Yeah, I'm gonna make a poster.
You should. Yeah, you should. Well, I used to live on 27th Street and 2nd Ave. There's no need for me to be detailing the specific apartment. 3? No, that's this apartment. Anyways, every day at the exact same time, this girl would come home, and she'd live on like the floor above me, and she would just cry.
Oh.
Every single day without missing a beat.
I want to hold that woman.
And she was always talking to the phone on the phone, and I would imagine she was talking to her boyfriend, and I could hear it and I was always so curious, like, oh, like, is it work? Is it the relationship? Is she talking to a boyfriend? But like almost every single day. And then I never interacted with her. We had never met. And then I went to a friend's birthday party. And she was there. But the whole time I had a secret.
Yeah, I know everything about
wild.
you.
I was like, oh my God. Because she was kind of, excuse my French, she was kind of bitchy.
Yeah.
But in my head, I'm like, oh, but I know
bitch,
the real
I know
you.
everything about you. I know that you are falling
Come 5
apart.
p.m. Let's see if you're a bitch. Like, it was so weird.
I like the idea that you just like leave a box of tissues in front of her door.
Oh my
just like
God.
a real like move. Like it can be both seen as like nice and also like I know your secret.
Yeah. Or I brought.
But also, kind of probably explains why she's bitchy. She like falls apart every day.
Of course, yeah.
She like buttons it up to go to a party.
But me knowing a secret about her is almost probably how everyday people feel about a public figure.
What do you mean?
Like, everyone's personal business as a celebrity is aired out. All right, maybe this doesn't have as much logic as I thought. But then you meet someone and you're like, oh, like.
Well, you did just go through a breakup with blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
so
you just went through
sense.
a breakup. You said this, you did that.
You almost got
that
canceled.
was wrong. You got canceled 3 times and you deserved it the first one. And then you're just like having a conversation. But it's not like that's such a common experience for an everyday person to like meet Justin Timberlake or like, whoa, Bieber, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So when I first met you, so I'm going to tell you a why did I say that moment.
Oh, okay.
Are you excited? With you.
Okay.
Are you excited?
No.
Okay. Are you scared? It could be anything.
I'm ready. Was I bitchy?
I don't know.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so when I met you for the first time, it was at New York Comedy Club. I don't know if you had a show later or something, but I just started comedy. You were sitting in front of New York Comedy Club, and you had papers.
Okay. I was
like joke papers.
I was going to say, was I crying? Because that would be...
No. You weren't crying at all. You had a bunch of joke papers. And this was like 10 years ago. And I just started comedy. I had way more... I probably still have like a douchey vibe, but I had way more of a douchey vibe because I had like lifted a lot of weights. So I like really personified like...
Broiness.
Bro-y douchebag, like leave me alone, bro. And I walked up to you... And it probably seemed like I was hitting on you.
Oh no!
I was just a crazy comedy excitement guy.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, are you a comedian?" And you looked at me and you said, "Hey, bro, I'd rather die alone." And then you folded your paper and then you slapped me with it.
Okay, this is not.
And then I fell on the ground.
Like, there's no way this. What did I say to you?
No, I'm just kidding. That's not what happened at all. No.
I was gonna say. I was like,
no, you were. I was just like.
I could see if I was Kurt. I don't think I would say I would. Like you would have had to.
What about? I'd rather die alone. Is that something you'd ever say?
On stage, probably.
Okay.
Like to a heckler.
I was trying to think. I was like, what would Liz say?
To a heckler, yes, absolutely.
Okay.
But I don't think I would say that in person. Like if I really thought you were hitting on me, I'd be like, hey. Honestly, you're making me really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Or, hey, no thank you. Like,
yeah.
Also, you have to understand, I'm always processing how safe I am. If I'm right in front of New York Comedy Club, I know all the bouncers. I know the manager.
Yeah.
I feel like I could go in that building and be safe, and I feel like they would help me get into a cab if I really. But I don't think
you were completely fine.
Yeah, I could see. You would have to really almost spook me.
Yeah.
For me to lash out.
Yeah.
Or not, because I'm usually pretty calm and direct in a nice way. The first time, it's when you start ignoring me and you just stop. You don't listen, and that's when I become bitchy, mean, like cunty, like you know what I mean. So you would have had to send something really aggressive for that.
No, I didn't. In fact, it was quite the opposite. You're very nice. I think you told me a little bit about comedy, and then someone else came along and said what's up to you, and you said, "Oh, this is my friend Gibran," and I was like, "Oh my God, I'm somebody's friend."
Aww.
Oh my God, it felt good. I was like, "Yeah,
I'm a hero."
You're a hero. Friend has a lot of meaning. We say it pretty casually, but it's kind of a big deal.
Yeah, I don't want anything bad to happen to you. I feel like that's like what a friend is.
Yeah. What do you think is a bigger risk? I'm curious. what do you think hurts more? Asking someone on a date and getting rejected, or ask someone to be your friend?
I've had both happen.
Really?
Yeah.
You've had a friend rejection?
Yeah.
Like, how did it go? That almost, just instinctively, that almost feels more hurtful than a girl turning me down.
Yeah, because if you think about it, like, there's so many different variables that have to come together for you to ask somebody out and for them to say yes. They have to find you attractive. They have to like your personality. You know what I mean? They have to be open to it, whether it's they're dating or whatever. Like, there's all these variables. But like, who's saying no to friendship? And I've had it happen several times. I had it happen where like, I had a friend that I was really close to. We had a really bad falling out that turned out, like, I was like, I really feel like this isn't my fault. And it turned out it wasn't. And when we kind of resolved it and I found out why he was mad at me, I was like, okay, well, do you want to go back to being friends? And he said no.
Wow.
And we didn't talk for years. And now we're actually friends again. And it was like good friends for a couple of years, would not talk to me. Resolved it, and then when I was like, well, I forgive you and let's go back to being friends, and he said no, and then it took years for us to get back into friendship, and now we're better than before.
You said I forgive you to him.
Yeah, like, he told me why he was being such a dick, and I was like, oh, okay. Well, I still want to be your friend, and he was like, no. And now I know he doesn't know how to repair.
Because he was mad at himself, or did he feel like he was slighted somehow?
I think he just didn't know how to process his emotions.
Yeah, and guys are stupid.
Yeah, very much so. And he's still kind of dealing with that. Like, he realized and we've been friends for like, God, almost 15 years. He doesn't know how to repair friendships. So I was probably one of his first ever repairing a friendship, and it took like 3 years.
Yeah.
And then I remember, this was actually a really good lesson for me, because I always want to make everybody my best friend, because I'm an older sister. I like helping people. I like people, I'm clearly a people pleaser. I'm getting better about not being that person. But
this is so interesting to hear.
Yeah, it's funny. I want to help the people I want to help, but I don't want to overextend myself, and I also don't want to be resentful towards people. So I'm learning how to say no, and I'm learning how to put boundaries on stuff, and I've gotten better. I still struggle with when I say no, being like, do they hate me? But like, now I'm kind of like, who cares? But I really like helping people. So this person was a coworker, like that level, and her dad was really sick, and she was going, and she just kind of, when you're with somebody and she shared something, and so I knew she was going through something, so I would check in on her, because if somebody had shared something with me, I would want them. So, I would check in on her and be like, how's your dad? What's going on? And so that went on for like months, and then her dad died. Ooh. And so, I still kept checking in on her, and then I'd be like, oh, do you want to get coffee? And she would avoid me. And then I would be like, hey, I saw that you're going to be there when I'm going to be there. Do you want to do it? And she's like, oh, I can't. And I noticed after a couple of times of her saying no, that she was very grateful, and she's still very grateful that I was there for her.
Yeah.
Didn't ask me, by the way. It's just how I felt was the right thing to do. I know that she's sad, and I know that her dad was dying. And it took me a long time not to be resentful. But then I was like, she doesn't want to be my friend. And she didn't ask me to take care of her. I did it because I wanted to.
Yeah.
It's not her responsibility or her obligation to then be my friend afterwards. And I realized that, like, I was putting this like undue pressure on something that if somebody doesn't want to be my friend, they don't want to be my friend. But it took me a while that, like, and she's like somebody I always enjoy catching up with, but we don't hang out outside of work, and that's fine. So I read this book called Grouped. Have you ever heard of it? Grouped, like group, ED.
No.
So it's a social media book, but I actually learned about how friendship works, and it made me reconstruct.
That sounds very dangerous, Liz.
No, it's actually really good. So it's like this thin. It's got to be like 100 pages, and it's basically teaching you about word of mouth. And the reason it teaches you about word of mouth, because social media is just a faster form of word of mouth.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, if I saw I don't know, a Disney movie I saw Encanto, and I go to you and I go, oh, it was really good. Yeah, you'd be like, oh, is it? And you go, I trust your opinion. We're friends, da-da-da-da. You might go, I'm going to go watch Encanto. And then you might watch it, and then you might tell 2 more people, and then it's like spreads like that. But if I like Encanto and then I post it on Twitter and I have 10,000 followers, now people that trust me because they follow me, I've now told 10,000 people I like Encanto. So basically, it's just a faster version of I'm somebody you trust, and I'm telling you something.
Yeah.
And we clearly see the dangers with all the misinformation. But basically, Grouped was trying to tell you why me posting Encanto to my 10,000 fans, and maybe you telling a guy you saw on the street, why that's not going to spread, but mine is.
Yeah.
And so what it taught me is that you only have so much space for best friends. You usually have anywhere from 1 to 5 best friends.
Yeah.
Because think of how much work a best friend is. When they call you, for me, you get a lot of crying phone calls. So you only have so much time for crying Liz.
Yeah.
But you only have anywhere from 1 to 5 best friends. And that's somebody that you're talking to almost every day.
Yeah.
Then you have like good friends. And these are people that you're talking to at least once a week, every 2 weeks or whatever. Then you have like these people that you care about, but you're seeing them once a month, once every couple of months. Then it spreads out further to people like you'd be sad if they died. You know what I mean? You're probably going to their funeral. And then you go out to like coworkers and people you know.
Where you don't give a fuck if they die.
But it gets up. Yeah, exactly.
Like, oh, good for her.
Margaret in accounting?
It's about time.
But it gets up to about 150 people. And then that's what they basically say a tribe is. And after that, you start forgetting names. You don't really.
Yeah.
So it basically taught me that you have this limited space of people you can connect with. And if you keep trying to shove everybody in to your best friends when really they're just a fun friend or, a best friend, but they're really just like a coworker, you're not completely being there for the people that are your core group, but also you're trying to shove somebody in a box they don't belong into.
Yeah.
And I realized I was doing that all the time, that I would get disappointed that a fun friend wasn't there for me when I was sad, or I was putting too much on a coworker.
Yeah, for sure.
And it just made me reevaluate the pressures I'm putting on other people, but then also when somebody would do it to me, why I was getting upset about it. Like there was like a young comic that I gave advice to, but then he would check in on me like every week. He'd be like, "How's it going?" And I found myself getting really angry. Angry because it's like, I have friends. I don't fucking need you to check in on me. But I was like, he might see me as an asset, and that's fine. And I was happy to help him, but I don't want you to try to shoehorn and become my best friend. And it was bothering me. So I finally said something to him. I was like, "Hey, I understand you're a caring person. It's very thoughtful what you're doing, but for whatever reason, I can't explain it. It's actually really bothering me. So if you have an issue, you have a question, I will be happy to answer it, but I don't need somebody to ask me how I'm doing every day. I don't want to answer that question, and it's making me hate you." And he got it. He actually got it, and I really appreciate it, and I'm glad I asserted myself and I said something, because old Liz would be like, "Fuck that guy," and he's doing nothing wrong. He's doing nothing but kind, and I can see why he would do it in the sense that it might help him in his career, but he was being very sweet about it. But I could not handle, because I already have a dad. I don't need somebody to make sure I'm alive.
I think when you don't communicate what you communicated, part of the fear is, at least for me, is their reaction. Is that going to be worse than the effort it takes to communicate? And then it's like, I'll just not say anything and secretly hate them for 5 years.
Truly. And so for this person, there's actually no loss, because if they freak out, fuck them. I don't need to talk to this person. It's of no loss to me. They're already bothering me. But if it's a close friend and I assert that and they freak out, it's like, oh no, now I have to deal with this.
Yeah.
So each situation is different, but I've also learned that if I tell somebody how I feel and I say it in a thoughtful way and you freak out, maybe you're not somebody that's supposed to be in my life anyway.
Yeah. It's really interesting hearing about not compartmentalizing to an extent, or being aware of which friend is which kind of personality subset. Because I have like a sad friend, and then when or a melancholic friend, a very not rose-colored glasses, pea-colored glasses, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
I would say it's more like poop-colored glasses.
Everything sucks.
Yeah, it's just poop everywhere.
Yeah.
But then but sometimes, and I have to stop myself from doing this with people, is when I'm asking something because I want a specific kind of response. And then if I don't get that response, I can't get mad at them.
Yes.
If I need motivation and I'm like, "Hey, Liz, do you think I'm a funny comic?"
Yeah.
I'm asking that because my insecure ass needs someone to say, "Gibran, you're funny, keep going." Well, but you can't expect that from everyone.
Yeah, and also I've learned to just ask. Like, I'll call up my sister and I'll be like, "Hey, I'm feeling down. Can you give me a pep talk?"
Yeah, that's great.
Or like before a meeting, I'll be like, "Hey, I'm really nervous. This is a really important meeting. Can you tell me why I deserve to get X, Y, and Z?"
That's
Seriously.
so awesome.
But it's really helpful. And the other thing that me and my sister have both been in therapy for a long time, I'll text her and be like, "Hey, I'm really having like a rough day, can you talk? And she'll be like, I really can't, and I'm actually having a rough day, and I don't think I'd be helpful.
Wow.
And my sister's called me up being like, can you talk? And I'd be like, I know her best friends. I'm like, go talk to your friends. Like, I can't be there.
Wow.
Because sometimes if you try to support somebody and you're not in the right place, you actually make it worse, and now they're mad at you.
Yeah, I've done that before. I've kind of lashed out, and I was like, fuck, I shouldn't have. They were mid-crisis. I was mid-crisis, and then we just like atomic explosion.
And I've learned to basically be like, I can't.
Yeah, like that's great.
Or give people a heads up. Like especially when I'm like touring, I'll be like, hey, from like October to February, I'm going to be a bad friend. Yeah. I'm not saying you can't text me, but I might be slower texting. Like, because otherwise people either take it personally or they get worried about you, and I don't want either of those things to happen. So it'll be like, hey, I'm going to be super stressed as I bounce from country to country, just so you know from here. Almost the same way that you have an away message for your emails.
Oh, that's interesting.
I'll have like a friendship away message where I'll be like, hey, if you need some. And like my friends, like I just had 2 friends.
Oh, that's awesome.
I had a bunch of friends that had babies over the pandemic, and it's like, I know as a woman, they are out of commission. Like,
they're away messages for the rest of their life.
Yeah. They're not coming over. They can't answer the phone. But I've also said to them, I was like, if you're sad at 2 a.m., I'm coming home from work. Like, I'm happy to listen to you while you're breastfeeding.
Yeah.
But they can't really be there for me the same way. And that's something that I had to be like, okay, for the next 4 months or so, I might be the friend for them, but they might not be able to be the friend back.
Yeah. Wow. I need to go to therapy.
It really helps.
That is what all of this is telling me.
Yeah.
But it sucks. I tried to go to therapy over the pandemic. I got waitlisted, and then another therapist. I guess this is a why did I say that moment. I got really frustrated with a therapist that I saw because my insurance is so bad. I can barely. I mean, there's so many bad therapy experiences I've had. There's one guy who lived in Park Slope. And I went, and it was his apartment, and it was like really dirty, and all that automatically was a red flag to me.
Yeah.
It was more so the toilet, and I'm like, you gotta clean the toilet.
Yeah, dude.
If this is also your office,
this is your office, yeah, 100%.
And then I went to his office, and there's just like stacks of it. It was really messy.
You want to be like, dude, you need to get your life together.
Exactly.
Like,
I felt like I needed to hear his problems.
Yeah.
And he wanted to me do like some intake assessment type thing, and it was like stacks of paper, but there was no etiquette. It was like, dude, I'm not a robot. I'm not like a voting booth, if that makes any sense. But I'm not just gonna fill out paper. Like, I need to say hello. And then I told him what I did. He asked me what I did. I'm like, a comedy. And then he in front of his computer, not like a cool laptop, but like an Acer from like 2000. BC. You know when Aces were like pretty poppin', and he plugged my name into YouTube and was like and I'm like no, and I was like, no, I don't want to watch it. Like, now I'm just like, why this shouldn't
you're not even listening to me.
Yeah. And I'm like, this is I barely have assertiveness skills. They're being exhausted in this one interaction. And then I told him no, I'm okay. And then later after the first session intake, he emailed me reviewing my set.
No.
Yeah. He gave me feedback on my comedy. Thank God.
You're supposed to give me feedback on my brain.
I know. And my heart. Not like cause more trauma.
Oh, what a piece of shit.
What a piece of shit. But, I mean, it was good feedback. It wasn't like... I mean...
You liked your set.
He's like, take your time
and
think about the twist. No, it was... No. It wasn't feedback. It was just... He might have used the word actually, though, which throws it all out the window. Oh, you're actually pretty funny.
Oh, my God.
Actually makes it worse. Just don't even compliment me. Just just say I'm not funny. I'd rather have that.
When you say actually, that means you went into it literally thinking I suck.
Exactly. And I don't need to know that. You can think that. Don't communicate that.
Almost every compliment a female comic gets starts with actually.
Oof.
Almost every single one.
Yeah. God. How do you not kill someone?
I actually get more mad at compliments that I get on YouTube than hate mail. Because if somebody goes, women suck, this is shit, I gave it 5 minutes, but I'd fuck her, but I'm not going to watch that. Like, it's gross. And it doesn't bother me as much as, actually, this is pretty good. And what I like about it is that even though she like clearly is trying, it seems, you're just like, what is this? What the fuck is this?
Yeah. It's like a passive aggressive
And
poem.
I've just learned to ignore both of them.
Yeah.
Because you're just like, this is insane.
Yeah. The other therapist over the pandemic that really bothered me was I saw his picture on ZocDoc. And I saw his picture. He just looked like a young guy, glasses, cool, nothing fancy. When I meet him, this is going to sound weird, but it's not. I'm not coming from a bad place. When I meet him, the difference between him and his headshot on ZocDoc is that he was wearing a yarmulke in real life.
Okay.
Now, I have nothing against yarmulkes, but I do not want my therapist.
To be super religious.
I don't want a religious therapist, and I don't want I don't want to be reminded of any religion while I'm in therapy.
Yeah.
So I felt catfished.
Yeah.
And then I sit down with him, and he brings it up, which really bothered me.
He brings up what?
He brought up religion, and he asked me, and I'm like, I'm like kind of Muslim, but like, you know, I'll smoke a blunt while we're drinking.
While eating
after.
ham.
Yeah, exactly. While having sex with pork. No. And then he's like, have you ever worked with a Jewish therapist before? And that pissed me the fuck off. I was like, dude, it's New York, more than likely, but also, that's besides the point.
You want to be like, oh, my coworker's Jewish. It has nothing to do with religion.
Like,
but I also, like, what I really like about my therapist is I curse a lot, and I'm not religious at all. And I would say she's, like, spiritual, and, like, I remember she cursed once. I was like, you don't curse. She goes, yeah, but it seems like it really connects with you. I was like, no, I really appreciated it.
Yeah.
But, like, there is a little bit of an adaptability. Like, if the person you're with is like conservative, then yeah, maybe you're not going to get through to him by being like, fucking get your life together, Mark.
Yeah.
Like, so you have to play that game. But like, I don't care if you're religious, but if you're going to solve my problem being like, let go and let God, I'm going to be like, no, go fuck yourself.
Yeah. I can't be
feel
confessing my sins. When, you know, it's not, I'm telling you my problems. I'm not deciding between heaven or hell.
Yeah.
But he brought up this Muslim Jewish thing, which is like, no, man.
No.
Because then he mentioned like his hours, and he's like, oh yeah, on this day at the end of the session. Oh, also he typed with one finger, which I was just like, that's so weird. Like,
and he was young?
He was 35.
Oh.
I think he was 35. It's weird that I know his age, but he typed with one finger.
He didn't go to school.
And he's typing my problems.
No.
So I'm telling him, he's like, all right, so why are you here? What's going on? And I'm like, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, you know, like that, the exit anxiety just really clicked. And I'm like, come on, dude.
I'm almost actually, and this is...
And the insurance was so bad. That's what I ended up with. I'm assuming he typed with one finger because he grew up in such a conservative, religious environment that he was limited. Yeah, exactly.
I'll say this. It's probably better to pay out of pocket and find somebody with a sliding scale because therapists that take insurance are just, I honestly find them all to be the worst.
Do you go to that?
No,
the comedian there? No,
nor would I ever want to.
Yeah.
I don't care that you, like, I almost find it a red flag as a therapist. That
it feels like a conflict of interest.
Yeah. And just because, like, I guess it's probably 20% helpful that he's probably heard every, this person got this and I didn't. And what am I doing with my career? And I thought it was funny, but maybe I'm not. Like, it's probably good that they know all that. Like, my therapist sees, like, clearly, she used to be in New York. She moved, and it's all phone sessions. But, like, she had a lot of actresses. She had a lot of, like, artistic people. So it kind of would help that she would give examples, so and she'd be like, actually, I saw this ballerina for 15 years. And, and this is what I learned from that. But, like, no.
Yeah.
No. No. I want somebody... I think word of mouth is helpful. So, like, I got my therapist from a girlfriend I met in an acting class 15 years ago. That's a good friend of mine. Like, so she knows other people that I know, and I think that's fine. But to know everyone in the business,
yeah, there's definitely a weird conflict of interest.
No.
Yeah, like it's like if my grandfather.
Also, I don't want to see any comic in the waiting room, and I don't know what
on
his
Zoom now. I would imagine. I would imagine. I would hope.
Yeah, but also, like, and this is like, you know, when everybody's going, but like I know people that would see people in the waiting room. Also, like, I've been in waiting rooms because now my therapist comes once a month to the city because she moved, where I can hear other people's sessions. Like, I can hear what they're saying, and I put on headphones and I start listening to music because I think that is such a, like, just the same way they could hear that girl crying every night or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of her fault, but like, this is probably one of the most private things is someone talking to their therapist, and the fact that like I can hear, I was like,
wow, Liz, you're such a good person.
I just don't. I think half of my motivation is it would really upset me if somebody in the waiting room heard me crying about some bullshit. I come out and they're just like,
that is so considerate. That is so.
But I will immediately put on headphones.
You're putting on it. My instinct is like, so what are we talking about? Mine is like, like creaking the door open and just like, putting my head to the floor.
Oh, I don't want to. I would be so upset. And like, I live on the first floor, first apartment in my building, and I can hear people in the hallway. So if people can hear me, if I can hear them in the hallway, they could absolutely hear me on the phone. And so, so there is a little bit of like, I've done this where I'm watching something with just really stupid and somebody comes in and I just lower the volume because I don't want them to know what I'm watching.
That's funny. Wow.
So
what are you watching back there?
It's mostly Disney movies. I watch a lot of Disney movies.
Yeah, you're worried they're gonna be like, oh, Little Mermaid again?
And I'll be like, my niece is over, but it's just me. It's just me.
Before we go, is there any specific why did I say that moment that you thought of?
Oh my God, I feel like my whole life is, why did I say that?
Yeah, me too.
They're mostly on stage.
Yeah? Okay.
Like I've done some like dealing with Heckler stuff where I've really regretted it.
Yeah? Like you ever melt down?
Not even melt down, like been just a tinge too mean.
Okay.
So like I have a couple examples. So like I don't do Broadway Comedy Club anymore. I think it's just a waste of time. Like it's bad audiences. It's a bad vibe. So this is probably like 8 years ago, and they're not really paying attention. You know me, I'm a storyteller. You kind of at least need to be somewhat focused. And I'm in a bad mood. So I'm going in like I'm clearly not going to handle things well. So I'm in a bad mood. I'm on stage. This guy talks. I ignore it, which is somewhat professional. My first instinct is like, you don't know what's going on. Just let it go.
Yeah.
I ignore it. And then I hear this guy talk loud again. I ignore it. And then I hear it again. And I go, dude, what the fuck are you doing? Are you fucking nuts? Like, I don't understand why people even fucking come. And I just lay out on him.
Yeah.
And he goes, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize how loud I was, and I was just trying to get some information from my wife. I'm so sorry. And he was so apologetic and so nice about it that I was like, oh no, I'm so sorry. That was so I should have at least asked what you were. But like, it was the first time ever that I went full-fledged, because it wasn't like he doesn't know that I'm ignoring it, so he doesn't know that I've already given him 3 chances.
No, yeah,
so it wasn't like, hey, dude, can you calm down a little bit, or hey, you're being a little loud. It was like, I'm not listening. Are you fucking like? And just so the first time I talked to him, I'm screaming at him. And he apologized so much that it calmed me the fuck down. And I was like, wow. Oh, I'm so sorry. And then I just like, for days was just like, oh my God, like fucking, it made me realize that I have to be aware that if I'm angry on stage, that I'm going to project things on the same way you would project on like a stranger or whatever.
Oh yeah.
So that was a bad one. And then I would say the worst Heckler experience I ever had was about 3-4 years ago. It was like maybe a year before the pandemic. I was doing this club in Connecticut. That's not great. And I had a little bit of a fan base. So I would say it was like half fans, half strangers or whatever. But I'm walking on stage. You have to kind of walk through the audience. So I'm walking on stage and there's a bachelor party. And I would say these guys are probably in their like mid-30s. Okay. Late 20s, mid 30s. Yeah. And so if I'm on stage right here, they're this front table and there's like 8 of them, and I'm walking up. So as I'm walking up, this guy that's closest to the stage puts his hands up, and it scared me. Like, I think he's going in for a high five reflectively, but like, keep in mind, dude's taller than me while sitting, and I'm about to go on stage and a hand comes up, and I literally was like, Jesus Christ, dude. So I get on stage and I'm already kind of like, what is going on? So I start doing my jokes, and they're all like rustling, they're talking, they're shouting out somewhat encouragingly, but I'm like, whatever. And I was like, hey guys, what's going on here? What are we doing? And he's like, oh, I'm getting married. And I was like, that's great. I don't care. Yeah. Like, I don't care. Like, I hope it all works out, but I like don't care. Yeah. And you kind of have to let me do my thing. And he's like, do it. Do your thing. Do your thing. So I start talking, and they interrupt again. I go, hey man, this isn't fair to me, and this isn't fair to other people. You gotta like, I get that this is your moment, but if you wanted to have a moment, there's a bar upstairs. There was a brewery upstairs. Yeah. You can go have that. But this is where you listen to me. You paid to listen to me. Yeah. And he's like, yeah, do your thing.
That was the second warning.
Yeah. Yeah. Go again, interrupts again. I go, hey, come on. How about we do this? I'm going to put a timer. 5 minutes. Let me get through a couple of jokes.
Yeah.
And then we can talk about you. But like, you can't just interrupt. And he's like, yeah. 2 minutes in, he was just like,
and I was
did you
put a timer on?
Freaked out. I did. I put a timer on my phone.
Wow, you did. You went through with it. Wow.
2 minutes in, he interrupts, and I go, "What the fuck, dude? Like, what the fuck is your problem?" And I went aggressive. I was just like, I feel so bad for the woman that's gonna marry such an ignorant piece of shit. Went out and then I said something like, they started to stand up because I was really being a cunt. And they were disruptive, but I went, if they were at a 5 to an 8, I went 11. Like because I was so annoyed and I had to do an hour and I was so they start standing up and the guy, and this is a big guy. This guy's probably got to be like 5'5". I mean, like 6'5". Like he's a big guy, looked muscular, and I'm being like not the right, like, and I was just like, I feel bad for your wife and I actually hope it doesn't work out. And I saw something change in his eyes. Like I really know I hurt him. And I had a moment to apologize because when I saw it, I knew I went too far. And I could have been like, that wasn't okay. And I'm sorry I said that. And I just let him walk out and he had every right. That was too far. So anyway, they leave. It's super weird in the audience. I kind of vent a little bit. I get him back maybe 60%, but it was just weird the whole time.
How did you get him back?
Just like talking about it. I would say like maybe some people agreed with me, and I was just like, I apologized to them. I was like, I went too far with that, but like, and kind of justifying it. Did some jokes. It never felt comfortable. I was seething the whole time. I got in my car and I was mad at myself. I was like, I did not handle that. I said something I regretted. I'm never going to be able to take that back. That's somebody's who I don't really care about marriage, and I think it's overrated and stupid, but there are people that do care, and who am I to ruin someone's day before they get married situation? They were assholes. I'm not saying they weren't assholes, but I didn't have to be an asshole back, and I still to this day regret that. That was one of the worst shows because of how I acted.
Yeah. But how would you have liked to handle it? Also, when you said he put his hand up, I was like, oh shit, did he like grab you on your way up?
And you have to understand, I've had men grab me.
Yeah, that was my first thought. Is like, oh my God, is that what? So
they don't understand. Like, that's the one problem with men that like the Me Too movement helped a little bit. We've had so many horrible things happen, that things that you think we're overreacting, because you're just like, I'm just giving you a high five. And you're like, dude, you're so much bigger than me. Yeah. And you're fucking being erratic. Like, I'm on edge all the time. Yeah. All the time. So when you see a woman overreact, it's because of experiences and the fact that I never fully rest. Yeah. Ever. Like, I am always this tiny. I am always by myself. You know what I mean? Like, I am always in a position that something bad could happen. So when you do something that in your heart, you're like, I was just going to give a high five, and I overreact. I get that I could maybe explain that, but like, I'm trying to be funny in the moment. I'm not going to sit here and be like, hey, I was actually really scared. Yeah. And a good example of like when it has worked out, my sister moved to LA like 6 years ago. So she wasn't a strong driver when she moved there, but like, she's clearly now very comfortable. So it's maybe like a year in, she's still getting used to the highways, and she is about to like get off, and this guy goes to cut in front of her, and like she didn't see him, and they almost hit. And she's just like, and it's like summer, so the window's down. She's like, what the fuck? Holy fuck. And she looks at the guy, and the guy's laughing, and she goes, I was really scared. Yeah. And the guy stops, and he goes, oh, I'm so sorry. And this is like on a highway. And it was the first time. And she's like, this dude looked like a model. Like, this is a dude that probably never has been nice to anybody, has never. But she was like, I was so scared. And I looked at him laughing. And my first thought was to tell him to go fuck himself. And I just went, I was really scared. Yeah. And the guy was just like, oh, I'm so sorry. You're right. Like, and that's how, like, you're not always going to get that reaction. But what I've learned more and more, that I could be like, hey, man, I'm in a hard position. Nobody knows who I am. Yeah. I look like a child. You guys outnumber me. You're bigger than me. And you have a relationship. And I'm trying to cultivate a relationship with this entire room. And I have to do it in an hour. How you're presenting yourself has put me in a hole where I feel vulnerable. So let me try this. But if you don't even want to give me a chance, leave. Get your money back. Go enjoy your night. But like, it's hard to explain what comedy is and then go into comedy.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I think with everything I know, and keep in mind, I was pretty, it'll be 20 years next month. So we're talking about 17, 16 years into my career, having one of the worst shows I've ever had, and acting in a way that I wasn't proud of. But I guess for me, I wish I would have just not cared about if I got them back and just was a real person. And I wasn't. I was a reactive person.
Yeah, but if you were a real person and you communicated all that stuff, I think that's great for off stage. But my intuition is that I doubt it would have affected them or changed their behavior.
Of course,
it could have, but in that moment, off stage,
I would have walked away from that situation being proud of myself.
Yes, which is a huge thing.
And I walked away being really disappointed in myself.
Yeah,
because this is the thing. I've bombed. I've had bad shows. I've reacted poorly. But this is where I walked away, and I was like, I'm ashamed of how I reacted.
Yeah,
and I was not in control. And I said things that I wouldn't want to say to anybody.
Yeah.
And I saw how they affected it, and I still didn't care. And that's like...
Well,
and
you
that's
did care, just maybe not in that millisecond.
And there's no way to change it. And that sucks. Like, if the whole point of doing comedy is to bring joy, I ruined someone's night. And even though they were ruining mine, that wasn't their job. My job was to entertain people.
But you telling me the story, and I imagine if I was in the audience, I would have been thoroughly entertained. And that itself is doing the job. There's joy in watching tragedy. Even if the tragedy itself didn't make you feel good, it definitely was the story for the next week for Jason and Samantha from Arkansas. I don't know where this was, but let's pretend they were traveling from Arkansas.
Yeah, no.
So I think you did your job. That was entertaining.
I'm a story. No.
You have a story.
Yeah. I'm sure they're divorced. He seemed awful.
They're definitely divorced. He was already cheating on her, and I don't even know him.
Yeah, he was
with one of his bros. He was just suppressing, and it took it out on you.
That? I just there's a part of me that when you meet somebody in that situation, you're just like, who treats people like that? Why would you want to marry somebody that treats somebody like that?
Jack Daniels. It was all Jack Daniels. That's pretty wild.
Yeah.
That is so wild. I think you handled yourself better than you think. But again, if it didn't make you feel good, that's all that matters to an extent.
Yeah.
Liz, we should wrap this up.
Please.
How can I promote you? What are your handles? What's going on? I know you're traveling internationally, Netherlands, Belgium. What's going on with you?
So my last special is free on YouTube, and my first ever hour is also free on YouTube. So I would say the best way to support me is watch my specials on YouTube. I have a third hour that you can stream or buy as well. I have a book called Why Cats Are Assholes.
Okay.
That you can buy. The page numbers are like little cat buttholes. It's very cute.
That's amazing.
If you like cats or if you don't like cats, because they're
all
butthole
pages.
Yeah, they're butthole pages. Then I'm touring. So all my tour dates are on my website, which is lizmiele.com, and all my handles and everything's at Liz Miele.
Okay, at Liz Miele. Awesome. Liz, thank you so much for coming out.
Thanks for having me.
Everyone, thank you for tuning in. If you like this podcast, make sure you follow us on iTunes, Spotify, Instagram, TikTok, the internet. All of that. Thank you so much. You guys have all been great. My name is Gibran Saleem, and I'll see you somewhere else. Bye.